C10 Talk Radio. Live from SEMA, episode 121. We sit down with Andrew from Painless Wiring.
I'd say 70% of our calls on the tech line with an issue, it's ground related.
Damn, son.
Welcome to C10 Talk, your C10 truck podcast. Here's your host, Ronnie Wetch.
All right, C10 Nation. December, the end of the year, having a good time. Hopefully you guys are out in the shop wrenching, you're shopping, you're doing whatever it is that you're doing, you're having a good time. And if you're listening to this, you're turning us on, you're tuning us in, and we appreciate that. End of the year, wrapping things up, 2018. What a great year for C10 Talk and the C10 Nation. We've had... over 25 to 30 shows, and we'd like you to vote on it. So I did put 15 shows up on the homepage, c10nation.com. You can head over there and you can vote, and I'll have a little something for the winner of the top episode. So top episode 2018, quite a selection there on the C10 Nation / C10 Talk homepage. So head on over there, let me know what you think, give it a vote, and we'll go from there, and the winner will get something. I don't know. I'll hook them up. So just one thing we're looking to do for 2019, spice things up for you guys a little bit. Right now, I've been so damn busy working on my casa. The house is a full remodel. The light is at the end of the tunnel. We can see the light. I don't know that we can see the end of the tunnel, but we know there's a light there. So thanks for kind of just patiently, I'm not maybe posting as much or kind of getting stuff out as much or as fast as I would like to. But December, we got the second show. This is coming to you from SEMA, recorded with Andrew, sat down with the Painless guys, and they had some updates. So that was kind of cool to get that and then get that out to you guys as well. So another thing that we're going to do, a little bit of a teaser for 2019. We are going to do C10 of the year. Now, you're going to pick for 2018 what I have done. I'll give you a teaser here. I think I might try to do an update show at the very end of 2018. Bear with me here. We got 2018s and 2019s going all around. But this will be the pick for 2018. And this truck will be, the parameters that are kind of set are essentially September 2017. I'm trying to keep all this straight. So a truck that was debuted from 2017, the end of 2017, to pretty much SEMA 2018. So in that time span, you're looking at 14 months, a truck that is unveiled, debuted. So obviously everything that's SEMA 2017 is included. And I've selected 9 other people, including myself. I'm trying to think of the states. We've got Cali, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Canada. Am I missing somebody in there? And all represented. Those individuals have selected their top 10, sent me those trucks, and we are working on a list that will be selected by not only you, the listener, but the panel as well. So 2018 top truck C10 of the year. So that's something that we're working on, another award that'll be pretty rad ass, and get that out to the winner. Keep your eyes open and glued to social media, our website. I will give you the updates as they come. I'll send out an email. I will send out plenty of social media. So think about C10 of the year 2018, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun because I think it's valuable to give not only you, the listener, the C10 Nation, input and a voice. And, you're out there, you're doing it. So one thing that the panel and I have talked about is a pro series and a builder series. Well, what we're going to do is just the pro series or one this year, but I want you guys thinking for 2019. I want you already thinking about a builder series. So what would that be? In my mind, I see somebody who does the majority of the work themselves, farms a few things out, maybe paint and body, maybe a few other things, but I could see most things being done in-house within their circle of, their garage, their shop, their friends, their carport, whatever it is. So I'd like to do 2 trucks. I'd like to pick a Pro Series, which is going to be your SEMA builds, and then I'd like to pick a Builder Series, which, maybe just hits a couple truck shows, good, and awesome. And we love that. So think about that for 2019 as we get ready to drop the award for 2018. And we're only going to do the one, like I said. So it should be fun. We'll clarify everything as it kind of unveils or we get closer, but something to think about. Merry Christmas. Christmas is just around the corner for you guys. I hope you have a great, happy, blessed holiday, New Year's, everything. I don't know if I'll have a time to do one more little show. What I'd like to do at the end of 2018 in a few weeks is some ideas that I have for some shows for 2019. I already have a list of people, at least 8 deep, of shows that I'd like to, I've already reached out to people about being on the show. And just some of the different format things and some changes and some fun stuff that we can do, kind of keep the entertainment value up for you and doing what you guys are doing, support you, the listener, and again, have a lot of fun, some swag, some free things, some giveaways, some contests, fun stuff, think radio station type stuff, and that's what we're kind of looking to unveil for 2019. So, if you're thinking about buying some stuff for your truck and you're thinking about taking care of yourself, I want you to think about our sponsors. So this show is going to be brought to you by Brothers Trucks, brotherstrucks.com. I've been buying my parts from Brothers for over 20 years now. They do have their winter savings sale. You save up to 10%, anything $3.99 and below, and anything above that, you can save up to 15%. So 10% on anything under 400, anything over 400, you're going to save 15%. No brainer, brotherstrucks.com. Get on their mailing list, get their catalogs. They have so many different things going on all the time, different ways to save, always looking for, what part do I need? What do they have? How do I get it? And what's their sale? brotherstrucks.com. AccuAir, no brainer. Endo, so many different solutions. CVT, if you guys are going on air, you're going on AccuAir. Choose the best, pick the best. It's the only way to go. I talked a little bit about I'm remodeling my house. It's a lot like a truck. It's funny. The house was built in 73. Obviously, that's right in the the peak, the middle of our C10 era, and it's the same thing. I could do some things half-ass, and there's times where I look at my wife and we're like, you know what, this is going to cost us a little bit more. We're going to do this, but ultimately, best deal does not, or best price is not best deal. And when I think of the highest quality when it comes to air management, I think of AccuAir. And if you're thinking about putting air on your truck, you need to go AccuAir. It's the best. Absolute number one air management system for you, for your build. AccuAir.com. All right, who else? Dakota Digital. You want to make life easy? You want to make an install simple? DakotaDigital.com. They've got the VHX. That's what I have in Yellowstone. They have the HDX, and now they have the Retro, which is, I don't know if you guys saw, I posted the 60, kind of more of a 63, 66 style Chevrolet, not GMC, truck gauge that they have put together for their RTX, their retro style gauges. Oh my God, they're so rad. As a kid, you think about that long needle kind of swooping all the way from the left all the way over to the right. That was kind of common. You didn't think it was all that cool. And then they came out with all the round gauges. And now you look at that series and you look at that 60s style gauge cluster that they have, their RTX. You've got the digital performance with the analog look, the retro style look. It's a no-brainer. So think Dakota Digital. Check out their RTX stuff, dakotadigital.com. Support those that support us. AZ Pro Performance, great place to get your AccuAir, great place to get your Dakota Digital, and anything else you're thinking, from their brake kit to so many different aftermarket components that they have. If you're thinking about switching out from stock, think AZ Pro Performance. Pro Performance, Travis, Nick, they're C10 guys, C10 builders. They know the builds, they know the trucks. azproperformance.com. A few other things to throw out to you. I was recently I had a blast on the Truck Show podcast with Lightning and Holman. Those dudes are hilarious. Lightning is a radio personality from California. Holman is a previous editor from numerous magazines. They've got together. They have their own podcast now, and they reached out to me. They said, hey, we'd like to have you on as a guest. I did it. I could, they got great chemistry. I could do it all the time. It was so much fun. Had a great time. So if you're not tired of listening to me yap on this, head over to the Truck Show podcast and you'll find that. I think it was episode like 44 on theirs. Good times. I posted it and I think I put a link on there. Again, the chemistry that those guys have. They talk a lot of a broad perspective of trucks. I think a lot of our listeners also have, their personal vehicle that might not be a C10, something like that. So if you like to, just listen to dudes talk about trucks, check it out. It was a fun one. I had a great time doing it. Lightning and Holman, the Truck Show podcast. Also, Chris Dukes, who does Motors TV, MOTORZ, Motors TV. He's was in town, and they're doing a C10 on the show. He reached out, and I think he's looking at doing a segment just based upon, hey, what's the C10 community and the involvement? And obviously, C10 Talk is a radio show. And so he reached out to me, said, hey, can you come on by? Well, I'll be in town in Phoenix and sit down and we'll talk about C10s and C10 Talk as well. So we did that. So that, I'll give you a heads up when that's out. But a lot going on. The C10 community is getting bigger. It's popular. There are a lot of trucks out there. We're glad to have you. The trucks are cool, but the people are cooler, and we're having a good time. So please remember to share the podcast, rate the podcast. I just checked. We're at like 366. I would love to try to get to 400 by the end of the year. I don't know if that's possible. I haven't been pushing it too hard. But if you're listening and you haven't had a chance to rate and review the podcast, please do so. It's not the easiest. iTunes is the format I'd like you to do it on. If you send me an email, Ronnie at C10 Talk, I'll send you a link. And it's pretty straightforward from that perspective. I will, if you're on our mailing list, I'll send that out as well at the end of the year, kind of a push here, because I can hit all of you guys at once. Get on the mailing list. You just go to c10nation.com and boom, a pop-up comes up, and you can subscribe to our be on our mailing list. I'm also going to send out a little coupon. I'll do one more coupon. We are having a sale. Well, by the time this drops, that sale will be over with. I'll do one coupon for anything in the stock or in the store, 25% off. And I don't know, maybe I'll do it one day. Probably have to be here pretty quick because we want you to get it for shipping purposes. So get on our mailing list and you'll get a coupon, one in the mail for something off in the store, and before Christmas, and get that to you. The keychains, I don't think I did reorder the keychains. I don't think I'll have them in time to mail them out or get them out for your stocking stuffers. A small little batch, the guy was able to put them together for me that does the keychains. We pretty much sold out on all eras, which is cool and shows you how rad they are. Little leather, embossed style keychains. I'll get them in. I'll post them up. They will be for sale. I just don't know that they will be in time for the holiday to get to you in your stocking. So we'll see when I get them, probably Monday or Tuesday, and we'll go from there. All right, that's about it, guys. The only other thing I'd like to mention is Ben Strong. So Ben Zaccardia, who is Brian, our friend, Brian Zaccardia, his boy was in a tragic accident, and we did post up a GoFundMe. Ben is doing amazing. It's one of those things where, we get busy, we get hectic, we're in the holidays. If you can, say a prayer for Ben, get online, do the GoFundMe. Obviously this kid's been in the hospital like 80 days now. He's a miracle, resuscitation on the scene. He lived. You get the 72-hour period where, at me as a paramedic, that's a crucial time, that 3-day, 72-hour window. He's pulled through. He's in therapy now, and every day that Brian posts something, I'm more amazed at Ben's just strength and his ability to, have a smile on his face and keep pushing. And that's obviously a hard thing for Brian and his wife, Kat, as well. So keep them in your thoughts and prayers. C10 Nation strong, Ben strong. Last but not least, I did talk to Andrew during the interview. He said they do have a new part number. That's going to be 20205. So part number 20205 on their square body harness, their new wiring harness that you'll hear us talk about. So just to get you an update on that, I do think that Painless has a sale going on as well, probably through the end of the year. So think about that. I think it's 15%, 20205, the new square body updated harness that they offer up. Painless Wiring. Check them out. Good dudes. We had a great time interviewing them. That's it, you guys. Again, a few things. If you have time, go to the homepage. Get C10 Podcast Episode of the Year 2018. Think about C10 Truck of the Year 2018. Think in your mind a truck that you saw hopefully we hit it on our shortened list that we've created. And if you have time, rate and review us. Please do that. Rate and review us if you haven't already. Have a happy holiday. Have a Merry Christmas. Thanks for your support. C10 Nation, C10 Talk out. Late. All right. SEMA Live coverage 2018. Stoked to get Andrew Erickson from Painless. He's a marketing director. Now, Painless, I mean, everybody out there in C10 land, you guys are the nation. You guys are thinking, man, I've got this 45-year-old truck. Do I need to rewire it? What am I looking at? And we're going to talk a lot about wiring and some of the different progress that's come about with Painless and wiring an old truck. So, Andrew, thanks for coming on C10 Talk, brother.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
I was able to meet you guys, I think, I want to say 4 years ago, but we met Dennis and we met you guys at your booth. Kind of got a little bit, did some our YouTube video. It was 3 years ago. Nonetheless, the market is continuing to evolve and change. How are things at Painless?
It's been good, just progressing on, and the C10 market's really growing, and it's always been big, but it's a big focus of ours now, especially in our backyard in Fort Worth, Texas. There, we got a lot of great events right there that we can go attend and be in front of you guys.
Yeah, you are not lying, my brother. I mean, Texas does it right, and we're able to travel to a few shows every year out to Texas, and they just keep bigger and bigger. Like C10s in the Park, for example, things started out like 40, 400, 800, 9, almost 1,000 this year, just right there. So, and there's a lot of history for you guys with trucks, right? So, Dennis, that's one thing I remember. Kind of, he's a truck guy as well.
Yeah, he completed and actually sold at the C10 Nationals. He had a 65 Suburban LS swap, just kind of a real simple, nice driver, and he's a builder, so it's fun to have this nice stuff, but as soon as he gets done, he kind of starts itching for it again. So he's actually currently putting together, I think, a 76, just a regular cab long bed, square body, and playing with that now, so...
What's cool is about the C10 community is they're still out there. You know what I mean? That's going to be kind of the evolution for us, is if guys can still get them and afford them, and kids and whatnot, and the community. Somebody said this to me the other day. They said, walking around and introducing myself to people and interacting with people, somebody's like, you've had the podcast for how long? And I'm like, yeah, we're in our, we've had 4 years. We're in our 5th year. He's like, oh, you were into C10s before they were cool. And I'm like, I thought they were always cool, dude. Like, what's up, man? So, but I could see where it's trending constantly. Yeah. Are you able to look at a lot of the numbers that way? I'm sure you guys kind of really dive down. Are you looking at like, this is how many kits of, this era and so on and so forth that we sell every year?
Yeah, I mean, we can look at that, and one thing I dig into is our web data, and honestly, since I've been there, which I started in 2014, our square body harness is our most searched harness on the website. Always has been, and it's just gotten more popular. So, obviously, we know that's a good market for us anyway, and I mean, there's 14 years of square bodies, and I've always loved them. I think the younger age group has, I don't know what it is. I guess my dad had an 81, so I've always loved them, and it just seems like it's kind of hitting that more youthful market that the whole industry keeps talking about, so it's a good way for that as well.
It is 100% absolutely correct. I mean, there's a lot of them. Yeah. They were on the road, still on the road, and we all rode in them.
Yep.
If you didn't ride in a square body, then you didn't have cool parents, cool grandparents, and your friends weren't cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So his friends were cool. His dad was cool. My dad was cool. We had like a service truck my dad had. We had a Blazer. So we definitely have square body blood in us. And, sitting there in that front seat, looking at that dash emblem, looking at that Chevrolet, Cheyenne, Silverado, whatever it was, that was getting ingrained in your brain, and that's kind of cool. It's funny because we all rode, in front seats. Now kids all ride in the back seats. GM needs to put like some sort of propaganda on the back seats, so we can brainwash the next generation of kids.
Yeah, I need to do something, keep them into it.
Yeah,
yeah, they definitely seemed like cars, even up to 87, had a little more soul back then, and I think we need to get something going again.
Dude, I'm digging that, some soul, because now the kids are looking at their phone. They're not looking at the back of the seat or the dashboard or something like that. But all right, so soul. Well, and you talked about the square bodies being one of your, if not your most searched harness. Now, I've been interacting with you, there's some changes in the square body harness, correct?
Yeah.
Updates.
Yeah, we're updating it. It's that harness we initially put together probably 96, 97. So we were way ahead of the curve getting that harness together, but just with technology, being able to search options and all sorts of things, we're just kind of refreshing it, doing a bigger charge wire. All these guys doing LSs are doing obviously big high amperage alternators and things like that. So just covering a little bit of everything. We're going to take care of the 88 to 91, the Suburban front end.
Yep.
A lot of people like to swap that over, so we're going to have a little kit that'll take care of those guys. And then we're also doing some not necessarily square body specific stuff, but it has all the connectors, and we leave it open-ended for those guys doing the real radical custom builds that we keep seeing, and it's been really well received. Joe Yezzi used it in his the
SSO2.
SSO2.
Yeah.
So just trying to kind of cover everything people are doing, whether it's just trying to get the truck that's been sitting at the farm back on the road with wiring gremlins, or doing a full custom hidden wiring build. So
cool. Now, when you talk about maybe that initial wire and you're changing some wiring, what kind of gauge are you talking about changing, like when you look at that?
Well, normally we at least do what the factory did. And one thing, our wire, we use TXL. It looks smaller sometimes. We have people sometimes call our tech line thinking that we undersold them or something. We do real thin insulation. It's nice to route.
What's TXL?
It's thermal cross-linked. So there's the two main types. There's GXL and TXL.
So
they both have
go
the same.
into that a little bit, because I sure the hell don't know what that
means.
Yeah.
So the GXL that a lot of the other wiring manufacturers use, it's got a little thicker insulation. So it seems like it's a higher gauge wire, but really it's just extra insulation. Mm-hmm. We use the TXL because it's easier to route, and we've also done a lot of racing stuff back in the day, and we're actually relaunching some racing stuff here at SEMA as well. But it's lighter, and people don't realize in a whole harness the little bit of difference it makes in each wire. It adds up. So
to me, and to explain to the audience, the TXL is better than the GXL.
It's a preference thing.
Okay.
We find it better.
But the gauge on the interior, the wiring is the same.
Yeah.
It just has less shielding.
Yep.
Whereas a GX is going to be a thicker shielding.
Yep.
So you're going to feel like you're getting maybe a higher level of wire, or like a higher gauge, which you're thinking, I can put more power through it.
Yeah.
The thing for me, like with my square body, the one I'm currently always kind of working on is Yellowstone, and that thicker wire is it's tough to work through. You know what I mean? So when you say that, that's what I think. I think about the freedom to work wiring through the firewall, work wiring through things, because I want to hide things. And right now I'm in the process of wrapping up Yellowstone for essentially the wiring. I mean, I'm cleaning it all up. I'm doing the throttle body. I've got the new 4L80. We've got the new radiator and the fans. So there's some GC cooling. It's all new wiring that wasn't there, and it's all working through the ability to clean that up and hide it. So you're saying, hey, TXL is where it's at.
Yeah. That's what we've always preferred. And one thing too that we've had a big focus on is educating our customer base. So the new square body harness, we've made changes. We've updated a few things, but the manual now is 120 some pages, and it covers every option you're going to come across. And the very beginning, it explains grounds. I mean, I'd say 70% of our calls on the tech line with an issue, it's ground related. So we explain that right away, letting you know kind of why grounds are important, but also what a good ground means. And there's diagrams kind of showing what a bad ground circuit can cause and things like that. So we're trying to educate the consumer to where they're learning a little bit, so they're not going to have issues installing our product, but also kind of take a little bit of load off of our tech line and just try to make it better for everyone.
So for the audience, what do you tell them? So I'm calling in. Hey, Andrew, how's it going? My name's Ronnie. I'm out in Arizona. I can't get this to work. And you're going to say, well, here's these three things. What walk us through, like, kind of the things that you would suggest for the audience, so that if they're listening to the podcast, they're listening to the Painless Tech, wiring, minutes, they can say, oh, I remember Andrew saying I need to make sure I do this, because I even feel like even if you're not, installing a brand new painless wiring system in your resto mod, in your renovation, you're still potentially have problems with old school wiring, and how old school wiring can still burn up.
Yeah. No, and we deal with some of that at the shows. Obviously, calling in, we're not going to have someone with their factory wiring trying to dig into our brains too much.
Yeah.
But honestly, the most common thing, I was on the tech line shortly, kind of got my foot in the door that way. I've done wiring stuff for a long time, but I'm not an engineer, and I'm not the techs that we have. I'm not to that caliber. But one thing that's super common, especially on the GM muscle cars, guys go get their new paint job. They spend anymore $10,000, $20,000. Real careful putting everything back in. You don't want to scratch anything and putting your lights on. Well, the lights ground through the housing. So you go turn your turn signal on, it's just going to stay on. It's not going to blink. It's not going to do anything because it's not completing the circuit, because they didn't want to scratch the paint right there where that has to be off of there. So that's one of the most common things, especially with GM being one of our biggest markets.
Yeah.
And then there's just a few different deals we've been talking about. We're going to hopefully work on this year, where we're going to start coming up with some wire tech videos. So I've just been working with our tech guys. And one nice thing, our techs are Fort Worth, Texas, right outside of my office. They're guys that ran shops and did stuff for years and got tired of kind of doing that and kind of enjoy sitting, talking to people, walking them through stuff. But we're going to hopefully be putting together these wire tech videos of just the most common issues people deal with. That way, people can just go to our YouTube channel and learn if they want to, but also when they call in, the techs can direct them to a video that's going to explain it a lot easier than trying to talk someone into wiring a car over the phone.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and the gift that keeps on giving, right? I've noticed that we evolve. We used to get a lot of our information off of the forums, and guys would do a little bit more, legwork. Now people want things a little bit more instantaneously in Instagram, and I'll get people to reach out to me about the most random stuff, and you're like, dude, I have no time to answer every one of your questions.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some of you guys get the same stuff. You're like, really, dude?
Yeah.
So it's like, here's the forums, here's our YouTube.
Yeah.
Go do, handle that on your own, empower yourself, engage. And then the cool thing is how much more you're going to learn on your own, not only solving your problem, but you're going to learn some stuff along the way, and you're going to be a better, truck owner, truck builder, mechanically, sound, because you did that.
Yeah. And one thing, we strive to have the best installation manuals in the game, and we've really put forth to do that now. We have a new printer that binds in full color and everything. So we have, the second gen harness, like for my car, is 150 some page manual. And it's one of those things that sometimes I deal with it where I see it on forums where people buy the cheap knockoff harness and then like, oh, but just go download the painless manual. And that can be frustrating, but we're still seen as the ones that are putting the work in, and you're always going to have someone do something like that.
Yeah.
But my goal is just to educate people to see painless as a knowledge base, because we have some great engineers that one of our main engineers, a guy doing that square body harness, he gets off work and he wires stuff on the side, and it's in his blood. He loves doing it, and because he's always constantly doing it, he knows what he needs to put into each harness, and it's we got a great team going there. So
that harness final?
It's right now they're finalizing the installation manual. That's the main deal with, we can engineer a harness and get it done, but then when you're doing a 150-page manual, we actually hired in a technical writer. So we have a guy his job is installation manuals. He works with the engineer, goes out there, takes pictures of the install, and so we're going through finalizing that. I think it's supposed to be mid-December that it's shipping. So or we'll say
around the corner.
Yeah, right around the corner.
What kind of fuse block are you looking at with that? How many?
It's going to be a 18 fuse, either 26 or 28 circuit.
So you're going to have a few upgradable options. You know.
Yeah, and that one's going to plug right in the firewall just like the factory did with the bulkhead connector. GM used sheet metal screws. I think we may actually have sourced stainless sheet metal screws to where you don't have to get on both sides and bolt it in like you used to have to. And then also for the guys that are going full custom, smoothing their firewall, obviously that bulkhead connector is not going to do them any good, so that's why that Pro Series came about, where we offer it with a bulkhead connector or with a grommet pass-through. So if you want to have your firewall completely smooth and mount the fuse block and run your wires down along the frame and keep them real hidden, we can do that, and we give you all the connectors and heat shrink and basically everything that a pro would use to wire it, because it's our pros that are our engineers that put it together, so it works out really well.
And I think you're right. I think a lot of our audience is looking at, they want that cleanliness on their firewall, so they want to make sure, and it's like, hey, if I'm already here, I can get rid of all that, I can make it really clean. And wiring, I mean, let's face it, it's 100% absolute that you need it. It's just, how can I hide it? Because it's not, maybe your engineers and your guys at Painless are like, I think wire is sexy. Yeah. But most guys are like, I don't want to see any of that. Yeah. And they might want to cover it up. So I think for you guys as a retailer, manufacturer, you're like, hey, we know what our people want. This is what we're going to create.
Yeah, and also there's times with all the electronics with your air ride and your LS and your
gauges, your Dakota digital gauges,
all that stuff. You have so much wiring, there's no way, shape, or form you're going to actually hide it. But we offer the classic braid and the power braid, that split loom, where it's, instead of using that old convoluted tubing, it's either cloth appearing. Classic braid's real cloth appearing, goes real well in the 60s, 70s era stuff, and then we have a little bit more modern, kind of like what the new Mopar stuff has on it with the power braid.
Yeah.
So you can run all your wiring through there, and with it being split loom, you can do it kind of after the fact and clean stuff up. So.
And I think that power braid might be what I'm dealing with now. With I've got the Holly Terminator on Yellowstone, and then the GC cooling with the CNR radiator, and it's really nice. It looks fancy. It looks clean, and that's where you put that stuff with the OG, something that's 45-year-old wiring, and you're trying to kind of match that all up or hide certain things. Yeah. Now, I think something that my audience would want to know is, you're thinking, hey, should I rewire? I get this question a lot. Should I just rewire my whole truck? Yeah. And it's like, listen, a lot of that is a loaded question, and I think, to me, that depends on how many previous owners were there. Yeah. That's a big thing for wiring, because if there's, it's on it, you're the 8th or 9th owner, then I can tell you the answer is going to be yes. Mm-hmm. Anytime you're up over 4 or 5 owners, depending if it was one old boy or to another old boy, then you're looking better. But if you've got some kids in there, you don't know what you had. I used to call it the J.C. Whitney catalog. They put everything under the sun on their truck. They had the blinkers, the lights, everything imaginable. So somebody gets a hold of a truck and they're thinking, hey, I really want to rewire this, but I'm so intimidated by it. What do you tell them?
Really, one of the main things, especially with the new manuals, is if you can read, you can wire your trucks. So these direct fit harnesses, they come, that pretty much everything's pre-terminated beyond your engine wiring, because we don't know whether you're doing an LS or keeping the original small block that was in there, what you're doing. But between that, we always tell people we're open Monday through Friday, call or text. If you run into anything, we've literally walked people with, and this is a universal harness where you have to terminate everything, but literally wire for wire. Tell them, what do you need to do with that wire? All right, call me back when you're done. One of our techs spent, I think, almost 2 weeks off and on with this guy.
Oh my God!
But got him going. So we'll do what we got to do. But the main push with those installation manuals is it's so straightforward. I'm a wiring guy in the sense that I did a little bit of audio stuff in high school. I never had wired a vehicle beginning to end or anything, and brought my Camaro down. I took every bit of wiring out of it, started fresh, did our direct fit chassis harness and an LS harness, and there'd be times where I'm good friends with our engineer. I'd get ready to text him a question. I'm like, you know what? I could probably open the installation manual. I'd had it up on my laptop, just Command F, type in what I'm looking for. It popped right up and just walk through. So it's just one of those deals. It just takes a little bit of patience, a little bit of time, but so does everything you do with your build. And I don't know, sometimes the wiring will be okay with the original stuff, but if you're doing a complete build, wiring's the one thing you definitely want to do while it's torn down, because it's not fun to have to pull everything out and start to do that when your truck's running and trying to be down the road.
Well, and the gratification and the satisfaction of doing that, like you said, you didn't have to call your buddy in all the time, and you looked it up, you looked up the manual, you made it happen. Another thing that the audience needs to know is each wire really is not only color-coded, it's labeled.
Yeah.
So it walks you through. Now, one thing that Andrew said is they don't know, what the end user is doing for every single thing. So sometimes wire is, not sometimes, wire is a lot longer, and then you've got to terminate it at your where you want it. Sometimes people want things in different areas and so on and so forth. So they give you the latitude to handle that on your own from a custom sense that you might, reroute something. The battery, who knows where your battery's at? Alternator, you're going through all these different things. And it's all right there on the little wire sheath on the protective jacket, and it says right there. Now you got to maybe I have to put my glasses on a little bit because it's small.
Yeah, and that's the only issue that we ever really run into a TXL. We got less footprint to print on.
Yeah.
So with it being a little bit smaller there. But
what gauge is that primarily? That stuff's small.
A lot of stuff's 16 or 18 gauge.
Okay, yeah.
And just kind of depends on what it is. The biggest wires are obviously going to be your charging system, your starter solenoid wire, big purple one running down there. But otherwise, it's a lot of that stuff's pretty low amperage. So, but it's easily adaptable to everything with what you're talking about as far as the engine stuff. And depending if you're doing an LS, you probably won't need those sending unit wires. Depending if you do go with like a Dakota Digital setup and run that module, then you can just unpin those, keep it real clean on the firewall side, and that's another way to go about it. And one thing we also do, obviously we sell everything headlight to taillight for a lot of vehicles and do a lot of universal harnesses, but we also have some systems called circuit bosses where they're auxiliary fuse blocks, either 3 or 7 circuits. Some of them are all ignition hot, or they have a mix of constant or ignition hot, just depending how you want to go about it. So if you do have an old truck that's just cherry and you want to do some upgrades, but the thing's in good shape and you're not tearing it down and you're not going to rewire the entire thing, we have a means of you to go straight to the battery with the circuit breaker protecting it and give you a little auxiliary fuse block that's easy to mount that you can run your electric fan trigger or stereo or things like that. So it's another way to go about it without tearing into everything if you do have one of the lucky ones that hasn't been hacked on for the past 40 or more years.
Yeah, which is kind of uncommon. I think you probably see it in Texas, and maybe in Arizona we see a little bit of that. You get the old boy's truck goes up for sale, and maybe he got it back in 78. And it was a 75. He got it in 78, and he's owned it ever since. So primarily that's going to be pretty clean and pretty straightforward. And what the example kind of comes to mind is you do a house edition, you're going to add a 150 or 100 amp panel. It's like, hey, well, if you want to add something, then we can give you this little upgrade, and you can add some stuff to it, but keep your existing OG in pretty good shape wiring.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Definitely a way to go about it that way. So,
anything else coming up? What happens if somebody wants that new harness, the new 73 to 88? They want that harness. What happens to all the old harnesses?
I need to figure that out. Luckily, I'm not the sales manager and handling the inventory that's out there right now. So if you call our tech line, there's ways that we'll be able to probably tell. I don't know if the part number is going to change or stay the same. Previously, when we've updated stuff, the part number changed, and we kind of just went through the old stuff as a different part number. And one nice thing, too, while we are upgrading things, we're actually lowering the price on it because we found some efficiencies in production and things. So I think I'm pretty positive it's retail right around $650, everything headlight to taillight, that direct fit now for that truck. So
so under $1,000 after you take in all the tooling and the sheet, the shrink wrap and the cloth tape that you're going to need and all the cool things, for under probably more so like under $800 you can rewire your truck.
Yeah. So, and it's one of those, you'll do it, it'll be done. We have all the machine crimpers, so it's not hand crimped or anything. We always like to invite people through and kind of show off our production. If you go on our website, we have a little bit of a factory tour where you can click through. It's kind of a old school flash page. We need to come about updating that next. We just updated our website to be all mobile friendly now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can kind of see what all goes into it, and it's one of those, there's no real quick way to do it. It's a process, and it's pretty impressive to see. So,
and I think you, along with those tutorial videos, I mean, I think a video like that, going through the factory and seeing what everything does, a little bit of the old how is it made?
Yeah.
You know, kids and adults like that. You know, car kids like us, we like that kind of stuff. And then to see, hey, this stuff is made right here in Fort Worth, Texas, US of A. And we talked to the owner, the original owner, Dennis. He was a really good story. Why don't we take us out with that? That was a really good story, how he started this whole company, how Painless Wiring started.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So Dennis went into the Air Force, and then after he got out of school, I forget the exact school he went to, technical school, but for electrical stuff. And then he worked for a long time for I think they sold a lot of farm machinery, tractors and things like that. And was always a hot rodder. So all these years, he's not working in this industry, but he's wiring stuff on the side. He used to wear a shirt for NSRA and volunteer a bunch of time with them. And finally, 1990, after he was already pretty established and had everything going in his career otherwise, just dropped it and started Painless Wiring, and it took off, I think, quicker than any of us could have imagined. So
for sure. I remember too, because we had the honor of having Dennis on the video for YouTube, so you're more than welcome to jump on over and check that out. But I remember he said, hey, I got out of the Air Force and I didn't know what I was going to do, and then he went to like a little bit of a tech school, and then he learned some wiring. Then he gets a job, and I think he worked the other job for almost 20 years.
Or something.
Yeah, where he would already had his career, a short career in the military. Then he did like 20 years working at like a machinist or something like that. And then he's like, I was wiring all these things for my race car buddies, and then I couldn't keep up. Started as 3, then it went to 5, then it went to 12, and then he's like, babe, they go to the swap meet and they're sold before he even gets out of the truck. He's like, I think we're on to something here.
It all started at the Pate swap meet in I think 1989, 1990. He brought, I think, 3 or 4 harnesses he hand built. Used all the money he made from those to go produce 8 or however many, like he said, and then it just started rolling. And I think he did it initially out of kind of a storage unit. Then after a few years, they had a pretty decent sized facility just outside of Fort Worth. And then since I think 2004, we've been a 43,000 square foot facility just east of downtown there. So it took off. And Dennis is, me working these shows, he's kind of a legend to everyone around here now. He's won SEMA Hall of Fame stuff, HRIA Hall of Fame stuff, and he's been great to me as a mentor, introducing me to people, and he's a true car guy. It's funny. It's not just like executives of other companies come over. There's some guy he met on the Power Tour in 01 that's going to come by and stop, and they'll just hit it off again. So it's awesome that it took off the way it did, because it's such a great guy for it to have happened to. And I think that's one thing that's definitely evidenced when you see Dennis at these shows. He's technically retired. He still works all these shows because it's what he loves. It's his passion. Like I said, he's a true builder. He got that Suburban done. We were at the C10 Nationals. He tossed a for sale sign on it. Sold, I think, in about an hour. And then picked up a square body because we've been talking about them a bunch, and he just kind of following what everyone's got going on. He had one back in the day too, and decided to get back into it and build another.
He's exactly right too. I mean, getting to see Dennis at C10 Nationals, running into him for the last few years here at SEMA, and then I ran into him just the other night up at the booth. So passionate guy who is always willing to talk to you about wiring trucks, and if you're passionate about it, he's passionate about it, and that's what probably makes Painless the success that you guys are today.
Yeah, definitely, no doubt.
Okay, so for the C10 guys, 60 all the way up, it sounds like they're looking at something that can even go all the way from the 88 to 91, because that's going to be your kind of almost like your third gen square body stuff. That's the leftover stuff. That's the stuff where they did the Blazers, the Suburbans, your crew cabs, your dualies, stuff like that, which is really kind of cool. We were at C10s in the park, and somebody had put a 91 front grille on an 82 truck.
Yeah, red short bed.
Yeah,
so
Ryan Anders, I think is his name.
So
really
I pull
cool
in
guy.
right there.
I'm like, oh damn, that's a 91 on there. You don't see that very often. So that's all available. They're upgrading their square body wiring kit.
Yep.
And like you mentioned, Mr. Square Body, Joe Yezzi, is here. We've been hanging out with him this week in the booth, and they have the first kit, or one of the first. I mean, obviously prototype.
One of the Pro Series, and those Pro Series are shipping. That's not specifically square body, but definitely get those custom squares like Joe's taking care of.
Cool. So you can get the Pro Series, and then you guys are updated with just the new square body one that will be. And that'll ship out potentially at the end of the year. You guys will be ready. 6772 stuff still holding tight?
Yeah, we're still doing that. I haven't really heard if we need to do any refresh. It's one of those, it's a good selling harness, and I don't get complaints on it, so we'll just keep on keeping on with that.
Okay. Well, if there's anything we can do, let us know. And again, it's always fun to see you guys, interact with you guys the last few years. And I'm telling you guys, you're looking at harnesses, look at Painless. And if you have questions, again, remember that it all starts on the front end. Do a little research, clean things up, work through your problems. Got the manual, the catalog, and then the customer service line.
Yeah, and just one thing, like I said, Monday through Friday, call our tech line. You'll get one of our guys right there in Fort Worth. And one nice thing, too, on our website, you can always click into the installation manual. We load them on there, so you can see kind of what's involved before you hop in there. But also feel free, swing by, see us at, I think we'll be C10 Nationals again for sure. C10's in the park. We'll definitely be down there as well, and I'm trying to get some more truck shows that we're hitting here soon. So we usually we'll load a show schedule on our Facebook page usually, so you can kind of see where you can catch us throughout the year. So
and Instagram and Facebook, they're on both of theirs, all social media. You check out their website. Sounds like they might get some YouTube videos up and going here, which are always fun and entertaining, and maybe a little shop tour.
Yep, definitely.
Okay, thanks, Andrew.
Sounds good.
Thanks for coming by.
Yeah, no
problem.
Take care. Bye.